The Grow My Cleaning Company podcast helps owners of cleaning companies just like you to grow your company and yourself so you can make more money and finally get the time and money freedom that probably got you into this business. Discover how to automate and create systems that allow you to grow like crazy without losing control. If you dig the show and want to show some love, subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes. It really helps. Enjoy the show. Hey, Clean Nation, Mike Campion here with Jackson Pinky Pinkowski. Only commie we got on the team that I'm aware of. Actually, I don't think he's a commie, but he does drink vodka, so we got that going for him. Jackson had an amazing idea just now, and we're going to share it with you, Clean Nation. So Jackson is one of our 2 full-time paid traffic coaches. He does the bulk of coaching for actual owners of cleaning companies, building cleaning company stuff. And 100% of our episodes together up until now have been on that. And Jackson's great on that. He's great. But today we're going to talk about something different. He was just asking me, hey, Mike, what is it? When did you have your first, I'm okay with money. I don't need to work again. And I didn't think it would be interesting, but then we kind of had a better conversation about the levels of freedom and all that. And what does it mean? And people actually, when they get money, how does that feel? And we spent so much time talking about how to get money, very little on how to keep it and how to make it actually fit your life, or how does your life change or not change. So I figured we talk about that. Any thoughts, Jackson?
I think it's a good topic. I think because, like you said, everybody has the goal, or everybody has the mindset of wanting to make money, right? But in the end, what drives that? What's the driving factor for you to make that money? Is it to buy new cars? Is it to live comfortably? And then too, it's like, you live in Arizona, I live in Wisconsin. Our money does 2 totally different things here. Like I have to spend a lot of money on snowplows. Mike does not. He spends it on pool chlorinator. So there's a lot of different things there.
Pool chlorinator. Let's be clear, Jackson. We spend our money on a pool guy, not pool chlorinator. Come on now. There's a good example of. And I really want to just talk about the differences of money, because I think a lot of people, what we think money will do and won't do is wildly different what money will and won't do. So that's a perfect example. When I was younger, and we talked about silly things, like Jackson was like, I liked when I could, he asked, when did you get to the point where you could go to a restaurant and not worry about it? I was like, well, for me, it was Taco Bell first, because he's like, and this is just how old I am. Jackson, you have to tell me if you remember this or if I'm so old. 59, 79, 99. The menu is all like 59 cents, 79 cents. Okay, you remember? Yeah. I forget what I ordered, but it was $2.32. I remember that. And being able to go there, and then being able to be like, go to not that I could never go to another restaurant, but you go to a restaurant and be like, oh, this is the Olive Garden. That might be like $43, and having to kind of think about it. And then above that would be, oh, I can go to Olive Garden and not even think about it, but I still have to pay attention to what the price is, right? Like this is a $27 entree and this is a $16 entree. So how is that experience? Those are kind of levels I mentioned before we started recording. Gas station. Like there's a point in my life, I just stopped looking for the extra 10 cents or 20 cents off of gas. And funnily, some of it has to do with my net worth. Some of it has to do with me valuing my time over money, right? Like how long will it take me to clean my own pool versus pay someone $150 or drive around trying to save 10 cents off of a gallon of gas. And then the final thing, which I think comes into it a lot, and I would love to hear Jackson's opinion on this, is my mindset. Like we've had quite a bit of money for quite a while now. I still, when I go to a hotel and they've got the $3 or $4 bottle of water, I'm like, I can't, it's too much. And it means nothing. Literally, $3 is $0. It literally has no impact, but there's some sort of, I don't know if it's poverty or just waste or what. So talk to me for you, Jackson, those 3 things. Like, here's how much actual lack of money enters into my decision-making process about how I spend it. How much you value your time over I could do this, but I make more money, building funnels or doing something online. And then how much the way your parents raised you kind of enters into how you make decisions about money.
Yeah. So a lot of the lack of money, I think it stems from college. When I went to college, because I had no money in college, and I was going to class full time and then working basically full time on top of that, tutoring kids in English. And
really quick question, because this always fascinates me. So for everyone out there, I did not go to college, so I have none of this experience. So this is helpful for me, for Jackson. I feel there's 2 kinds of college kids. Work to go through, 3 kinds, I guess. Work to go through, no debt, no help from parents, or very little help from parents. Tons of debt, which is a little I still have to pay it back, but I'm not working. And then there's scholarships or parents paid and I have to contribute anything. Which tier were you, and how did that impact your experience?
I'm a mix of all three. So I had a lot of scholarships. I also had a lot of debt, and I also worked my butt off because it wasn't that my parents didn't want to contribute. I hate taking money from my parents. My parents worked so hard to put both me and my brother through private high school. My dad sacrificed so many trips, so many retirements, so many new cars, so we could have a better upbringing, that I don't like to take money from them. So I try to avoid it as much as I can, especially if I can work. If I can work and pay, I'll let them, do their, they gave enough. So, and really that kind of, I wouldn't say it made me frugal, but it made me understand the value of a hard day's work and understanding where your money went and having good stability over that. And then what was part two? Part two of your question, valuing time, which is really interesting because I just hired a home cleaner for the first time ever in my life, because I realized my wife and we work all day, and then she comes home and we go to the gym. And then by the time we get home, it's like 7:00, and then we eat.
And for those of you that are listening on the podcast and not seeing the video, Jackson's jacked. Like, he's just got muscles.
I'm getting there. It's almost spring break.
So our next podcast, he'll be topless. Just throwing that out there. Something to look forward to. Continue, Jackson.
But by the time we're done with food, it's like 8:30, and we're both wrecked, because you work all day and then you go to the gym. So you're physically, mentally wrecked. And then you got piles of the dishes in the sink. You got laundry that you need to do, or we have a dog, so we got to clean up after the dog. All this different stuff piles up, and you say, "Oh, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it the next day," and then it piles up, and then you end up spending more time doing it, less time with the family, less time doing fun things. And I realized, it's worth it to pay a cleaner to help me, not do all the work, but at least do it so I can spend time with the family. And that's not even so I can make more money. It's just so I can have a positive mental attitude, with my wife, with my parents, with my brother, stuff like that.
You didn't get to the point of, like, for me, it would have been, I know how much money I make at work, whether that's owning my own business or whatever. In different businesses, I've made different things, but I've always felt it was typically more than what it would cost me to hire a landscaper, a pool guy, a cleaner. So for me, that math was pretty easy. And then the bonus was, and I want some daggum quality of life, right? But it sounds like for you, the math didn't enter into it. It was more just, I work hard to have a certain quality of life. And if you add on cleaning or this extra service on top of all my regular life, it's just not worth it. So it really didn't have anything to do with the money.
No, nothing to do with the money. Like, if I did the math on it, it's probably like a stupid expense, right? I'm spending an extra, however much it is per month to get my house clean. But the time back I get with the family is just way better to me. That's like priceless, right? And then the last point, you talked about the water bottles in the hotel. I'm the same way. I won't ever touch those water bottles. Or my mom would always teach me, it's like, if you did have to get it for whatever reason, just go down the street to CVS and buy it for like $1 and replace it and just act like you never touched it. But something I will never buy, and I'm working my wife off of it, is Starbucks or like store-bought coffee. Because that's, like $3, $4. But that they call it like the Starbucks mentality. It's that stuff adds up. And like my aunt, for example, who will never listen to this, and I love her to death, but she buys probably 4 Starbucks a week, and she lives in a 1-bedroom apartment, has just really, she can't even afford it, but she does buy it all the time. And to me, it's like, I can make awesome coffee at home for 50 cents. And I just don't go to Starbucks, and I don't hate on people that do. I get it. They like that stuff, but it's just that mentality of, it doesn't sit. That to me is a waste of my money, even though it's $3.
So believe it or not, that sounds like a pretty innocuous comment, but there's a lot to unpack in that I'm glad that you brought up from two sides. One side, as a business owner, it's easy to judge. Well, if we're in Starbucks, it's easy to judge Jackson and I. You son of a bitch, how dare you? If you're on Jackson's side, and I don't go to Starbucks because I think their coffee tastes terrible. So I've got
that too. That doesn't.
I've got a whole different. I got a whole different score to settle with those people. So I don't have a dog in this particular fight. But it's easy to be on Jackson's side and or the people that think it's too expensive and judge them for being wasteful with their money. Get it? Easy to be on the Starbucks side and judge Jackson for like, hey, this is a little treat in life. Stop hating. But what I'd love to see you guys do and gals as business owners is go, why would people pay $4 for coffee? Is when you can make it at home for a nickel, or whatever. It's a lot less than $4. And the obvious answer that's superficial and good, but I think we can take it a step level that'll be more helpful, or a level deeper, is more helpful. So the obvious answer is, well, they've got a nice, it's nice to sit there and you can kind of enjoy the thing and there's some community, and that's all true. And that would be a good, I don't say superficial answer, but top level answer. You take it a level deeper. If you really think about it, that's a perfect example. And I love your aunt's example, who's limited income. So I'm guessing a first class plane ticket is out of reach for her. I'm guessing a Mercedes-Benz is out of reach for her. No judgment. I've been where a plane ticket was out of reach, a Greyhound bus ticket was expensive. So please don't hear me judging, just calling it. So she, just like every other human, would like some luxury and some care and I'd like to treat myself. Like for Jackson, you go, I value my time. And you even said, and I'm not judging, you said, probably a bad investment. I probably can't quote unquote afford it, whatever that means, right? It probably is not a good use of my money, but that's the luxury I can afford and I'm going to do it. And that makes sense to Jackson, right, wrong, or indifferent. It makes sense to him. It's his money, so he gets the vote. But to his aunt, maybe she can't afford a cleaner, right? That would be just too much. Mm-hmm. So what I want you guys to get is Starbucks isn't selling Starbucks. They're selling people going in going, I deserve this. I can give myself a little bonus. I can invest in myself. I can make myself feel good, and I can freaking afford it. So great model. If you're looking for a mass market like Starbucks, right? Everybody can afford $3, or the vast, I think homeless people can probably afford $3 for coffee and still feel for that 5 or 10 minutes. I'm not homeless. I'm a regular customer in a nice Starbucks with other people. I don't have to worry about my poverty. They talk about like movies during the Depression. They thought they would die because they were expensive. They went way up because it was cheap, and that's all people could afford in terms of luxury. Like I can have a 2-hour break from my depression or my lack of money. So how that translates, owners of cleaning companies, if you're trying to sell clean stuff, and again, I'm sure Jackson's aunt would go, their coffee's great, and it's, she would have a whole different thought process as to why she does it. But at the end of the day, it's probably she's like every other human, wants to feel special. And this is what she can afford to do that. So if we understand we're selling, helping people feel special, not clean toilets, you're going to do a crap ton better, and people will not fight you on price as much. That said, and we're running out of time, which is a bummer because I really want to talk more about how to keep money. So again, not to judge Starbucks or any of you that buy a $4 coffee. God bless you. If it makes you feel good, go get them. But Jackson made a really good point. We talk so much on the program about how to make money. We talk so little about keeping money. And I know doctors that make $150,000 a year and spend $170,000 a year. If you read a great book called The Millionaire Mind, and the sequel Millionaire Next Door was the original. I think The Millionaire Mind or Mindset was the sequel. It was just a research book. They just did studies on thousands of millionaires, and then that was for the first, The Millionaire Next Door, and The Millionaire Mind was thousands of decamillionaires, people that had a net worth of 10 million or more. And what they found was in The Millionaire Next Door, the average income of the millionaire was like $42,000. And this book was written 20 years ago, so it might be $70,000 in today. But it wasn't 200,000. And many of the people that made 150,000 were not millionaires because they didn't know how to, like a doctor would spend 20 hours negotiating his $76,000 Porsche retail price to $69,500. But he could have made twice that if he just used that time operating on his deal. So it was really the mindset they had about money had much more to do with it than the income. And my favorite story from that book, and maybe I'll let Jackson kind of comment and then we'll end, is the guy they called Bud, because they didn't use their real names because obviously there's financial information. But with the decamillionaires, are like, that's hard, right? Like, what are you going to do to get, like, for Jackson, if I wanted his opinion, I might be like, hey, I'll give you $100 gift certificate, or, a Starbucks for your aunt or whatever. And maybe he'll come in for an hour and answer questions. But for decamillionaires, what the frick do you do, right? Like, how do you can give money. It's not going to, so I think they paid for their plane ticket, and like, we wanted them to feel comfortable. So we rented the top floor of this high rise. It was super fancy. And there's like lawyers all around, and we bought caviar. We bought very expensive. We went to the lawyers next door and asked them, like, what's a good wine? Like, we wanted to make sure they felt comfortable. And the first guy that walks in and like, sir, would you like our 1969 Chateau day, whatever. And he goes, he had a big belt buckle on it. He goes, I drink 2 kinds of alcohol, Bud and free. that way. And he said, we called him Bud because that would absolutely personified the kind of mindset that the decamillionaires, these are not people with $1 million net worth. These are people with $10 million net worth. even then, their mindset was still, I drink Bud and I drink free. He said they all came in. No one touched the caviar. He said, you know what we did with all that food we bought? We gave it to the lawyers that recommended. They ate it all up. And these lawyers were not they were not decamillionaires. They probably weren't millionaires. They're making $150,000 a year with probably a net worth of virtually zero. And they're like, oh my God, I love this caviar. I love the whatever. So the mindset has more to do with, so creating wealth, business is a big deal. Keeping wealth, how you look at mindset is a bigger deal. And I feel like we're short shrifting this conversation. Jackson, I might have to do a sequel to this bad boy. That said, with the time that we have left, Jackson, give us your closing thoughts. I'm going to drink one of my refresh waters that came from Costco, I'm guessing, or Instacart for the low price of 43 cents would be my best guess. So cheers. Jackson, finish us up with your thoughts on making and keeping money.
I think you kind of summed it up really well with keeping money. It's like, I don't want to say that money, the people who have a lot of money, the money doesn't change them, because it does. But like, for example, oftentimes it's like the people who have
really quick. I have a really important question, not an important question, but I hate to interrupt, but it's when you think of me, because I'd like to think that you know me, and I think you've been to my house, which was nice, but not hopefully, like, oh my God, Mike's ridiculous. Do you think of me as a rich guy or just a guy? Like when you say money changes people, you didn't know me when I was poor, and this is not a conversation Jackson and I've had. Do you think me of a rich guy first, or you just think me of a guy first?
Well, this is a guy, honestly. Like you work with and talk with you enough, you kind of understand like where the money is and all this stuff. But at the same time, you're a dude. Like if I saw you walking down the street, you're a guy, like a guy in Phoenix. I mean, like
my wife bought this shirt, I'm guessing for less than $16.50. Go ahead.
I mean, even the car you drive, because I've been in your car. It's like, it's a car. Like it's not a bad car, but it's not like a 90s Toyota Corolla or anything, but it's also, it's not when people think of, I think they think of super rich people, they immediately go to like sports cars and crazy fast Lamborghinis and stuff like that. And it's like, honestly, if you had no inkling of the world really, or if you just came from like Africa or something not really connected to the world, and you see Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos walking down the street, they're just dudes. They look just like dudes. And then you see guys who are in the pinstripe suits that come from lawyers' office, come from Wall Street, and they try and act like they're super fancy or super rich. You go, oh, that guy must have money. But usually those aren't the guys with a lot of money, just like you said. So it's kind of changing, that higher level of you don't really lose yourself or lose your personality in it. And that's, in turn is what keeps you having your money and helping you retain your money.
And I think some can and some can't, right? Like I think money is similar to alcohol. It exemplifies who you are. So if you're kind of a jerk, money will make you a bigger jerk, as well alcohol, to the best of my understanding. If you're a down to earth guy, money will typically not change that. All right, we've got to wrap because I've got a call waiting on me, but I want to tell the story of Jackson in my car because it's a great story. So, and this actually sounds like a jerk rich guy story, but I don't care. So Jackson flew down to watch the Sun because he's Bucks. He lives in Milwaukee, and the Suns Bucks were in this finals. And one of our clients, Spencer, we just wanted to share the experience. That's another thing, by the way, I wanted to talk about, but we can't do it today. Experiences versus things, right? Like I'm much more willing to invest in the experience. My friend Jackson, my friend Spencer, that I will remember this memory forever, right? And it wasn't cheap, but it wasn't. I think most hardworking Americans could have afforded that experience. It wasn't. We were lower level, but not. Could have I afforded to sit right in the front? Yep, but no thanks. So we had good seats, but not insane seats. And I think Jackson actually was on like StubHub or whatever. Like Jackson actually got us a pretty good.
Yeah, I really finagled that deal.
Yeah, Jackson like hooked it up, so we got probably better seats than we deserved. Anyway, so Spencer's 6'4", 260, like 6'5". Yeah, Jackson maybe a couple inches shorter, but north of big dude. I'm 6 foot 220. I'm the littlest. I'm 6 foot 220, and I'm the littlest. Jackson. So I've got an M4, which again, Jack, it's a BMW. It's a nice car. It's not a Lamborghini. It's not a Toyota Corolla. It's a nice car, but it's not known for its backseat space. So we go walk into the car, and I'm looking at Jackson, and Jackson look at me. We look at the car, and kind of like, well, where do we go from here? But I was driving, so I kind of got lucky with that. And to Jackson's credit, he's like, I'll get in the back. And poor Jackson crunched up in a little ball. This is before he worked out. He'd never fit, now. But back then, he just crunched up and made it. And we had a great time. It had nothing to do with. None of us that night thought, I don't think, anything about our net worth or who had money, or we just really enjoyed the experience. It was a great experience. And I think that was an experience, had all three of us made $81,000 a year or $62,000, we would have enjoyed equally well than if, regardless of how much each of us made. Spencer's a millionaire mastermind guy, does pretty well, but that day really didn't matter. So it's funny how I think 92% of life is not, actually Jackson's night would have been better if I had a cheaper Toyota Camry because he put a seatbelt on and had some legs. All right, guys, appreciate you. We'll do this again. Jackson, you're the best. Talk soon. Clean Nation. Oh, by the way, growmycleaningcompany.com. If you are like, hey, I came here to grow my cleaning company, we have that. growmycleaningcompany.com. Check it out now. See you there. Well, here we are, the end of the podcast, and you made it. Great job. I've got a little bonus for you for sticking through with me. But like I mentioned before, if you got value out of this podcast and you want to show a little love, subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes, Spotify, wherever the heck you're listening to this thing. Share with a friend. Share the love. And as a special thank you for those of you that stuck with me to the end, how about I give you my personal phone number so we can text? It's a great way for me to get to know you, your business, your goals personally. So shoot me a text now, 602-932-6431. 602-932-6431. I am the only one who responds to these texts, and I will personally respond to everyone I possibly can as long as this number is manned. Don't know how long we're going to keep this at the end of the podcast, so grab it now. 602-932-6431. Give me a text. Say hey. Can't wait to meet you.